I don't know if you can still see it, but there's some smoke coming out of this. What we have is we got a bolt that was broken off inside of this caliper bracket. There's some smoke. So the only way to get these out, and the reason why they seize up, there's two reasons. There's one because of rust and one because of putting the wrong grease in it. If you put the wheel bearing grease instead of a lithium grease or silicone based grease, something in there, what happens is they just get stuck. So I've got somebody, today is Sunday, and Frederico, I forget what his name is, but anyway, this is the only day off he has. He works at the Timken plant, and so he's fixing his girlfriend's car, and he got stuck because this bolt broke off, basically where the caliper bolt's on. He was just trying to change the brake pads, and this snapped off because he couldn't get it to move. This one's also stuck, so we're going to heat it up and do the same thing. This one I was able to heat up using just a propane torch, like a Burnzomatic. This is kind of a cool tool because it is so fast. I want fire now. So anyway, that's what we're doing. Heat is the way to get these out of there. Try to get the rubber off and salvage that if you can. If you have any thin metal components like these stainless steel little pieces here, get those off. To get these out, it's real easy. Let me show you. You just take a screwdriver and stick it up underneath it here. Give it a little pressure on the one side. Don't bend it. Get it to let go. Get it to pop. You know, these things are spring loaded. Just get it to, you know, like say that's your hand or whatever. Just get it to go like this a little bit and they'll pop right out. It's easy. So anyway, this one did come out okay. We're going to clean that out. I use a circular file. I'll show you how that goes here in just a minute. I'll swap this one out and get it put in. I marked them right and left. These are the same. This is off a little GMC Sonoma, a little SUV, you know, like a Chevy Blazer. So we'll set that aside and let that cool down a little bit. And we'll get this one in place and show you how that goes. So I put it in the vise because it's hot. You don't want to burn yourself. Get your wrench ready, whatever you're going to use to turn it. I like to twist them first and then pull them out. Looks like that's a 16 or 17, I can't tell. Never know with Chevy. It could be the metric system or not. I don't want to get up standard wrenches. They've got spider webs and dust and junk all over them. I don't want to disturb that. So anyway, you take a pick or something, come from this side, it's usually easier, and get your rubber seals off if you need or plan to reuse those. We'll set those aside so they don't get cooked. And also, I just don't want to breathe the smoke from cooking those. You know, like smoked cedar, smoked maple, you know, all these things. That's what you want to breathe, not smoked rubber. So anyway, that is stuck. He didn't want to break this one, so his girlfriend came and contacted me. That is stuck. That is not going anywhere. Here's we go. Here's what we do. There's usually a little bit of air in the backside here. We try to use that at our advantage. We aim this away from us because this can become a cannon with compressed air and resistance or whatever. It might pop out. Typically that never happens, but it's possible. So anyway, what I do, I look at the surface of the metal and see, you know, what's making it glow the most. Do I want to be back here? Not a lot of glowing, more glowing, more glowing, more glowing, less. So I want to be about right there. That's the sweet spot. So just cook it for a little while. We'll leave this in real time. You can fast forward using the scroll on the bottom and using your mouse. But what I like to do is I'll watch a couple of things. One, I'm watching for smoke coming out from here, and then I also watch for grease bubbling. You know, like you'll have that grease bubble. So I'm trying to get stuff to glow back here. I'm heating it up, watching for smoke. I can see a little bit of grease bubbling up at the front there. I don't know if you can see that. We'll zoom in. You can see the early signs of smoking. You can see the early signs of grease bubbling. You see that? Back it out there a little bit. There you go. See it's bubbling a little bit. Better to err on the side of caution. Once you see the bubbling, you know you're getting some heat penetration in there and it's starting to work. You start to see some smoke coming off of that. So keep going for another 10, 15, 20 seconds. That way you don't have to, have it be cooling while you're monkeying with it. You'll have bubbling and you'll have smoke. It doesn't mean it's going anywhere. So you let that do that for, if I could do a Julia Child's voice, I'd be like, let it cook for approximately 15 to 20 seconds, and then try with your wrench. It's going to be fabulous. Maybe I got a little Julia Fairchild voice going on. So we've been cooking it now for about 10 seconds, give or take. Keep that red stuff going. As I'm narrating and looking in the viewfinder, I'm getting away from it. Don't do that. You're not filming, you don't have an excuse. Alright, I think we're getting close here. I'm just filling time. I'm trying to think of something funny or entertaining to say, but I think we're about done. So I'll set my Burns-O-Matic aside. For those of you that don't know, Julia Fairchild, she was, as I turn this, it's just like cooking and burning. So it goes a little bit one way, a little bit the other way. If I had a leather glove, I'd support my wrench and let it be there, but another thing, I'm not breathing any of this crap. I've got a fan going, it's blowing it out the window. As the smoke rises, it's just getting wafted away. So let's back this up and I'll show you what I've got going on here. Let me show you what I'm working with. Alright, here. So get the wrench on there, don't burn yourself. Just work it back and forth like that until you feel it's getting kind of loose. And once you feel it's getting kind of loose, your vice grips. I had to do that because there's nothing left. It broke it off. So I'll take that and set it aside. I'm going to grab on the little lip that the rubber boot goes onto. I don't want to grab on the shaft of it because I think Alfonso or it's not Alfredo. Gosh dang it. Sometimes foreign names are a little hard for me to remember. Let's work it back and forth. Voila. And that's how you get it out. Now the next thing I want to do, if I'm going to reuse this pin, and I think he is because he only bought a set and a side for one, I'll turn this on. A little RC radio out of the way so I don't get metal filings in it. So you don't want your helicopter flying with a mind of its own, right? I don't. It could mess you up. A wire brush this. Clean it up a little. You gotta remember, this is hot. I just had a torch on this stuff, so I'm gonna put that into some water or spray it or something before I pick it up. Watch your workbench, make sure it doesn't catch on fire. I feel that's not tight enough, so I'm gonna tighten that a little bit. I'm not clamping it down. I don't want to bite into that and make a mess. See where it bit into here? We don't want that happening down here. It's a little pitted, but that's okay. That's negative space, not positive. You know what I mean by negative and positive space? You know, something sticking up versus being a hole. When you bite into it, it creates both a negative space and a positive space. Something sticking up a bird. Not the end of the world, but we want these to work right. We want it to be smooth. Hot, hot, hot. Alright, so heading back over here, we make the trip. Alright, so you see a lot of that dust came out of here when I took this over here and set it aside, came out. We're going to use some brake parts cleaner and clean out both of the holes in this. We're going to spray it in after it's cooled and clean that out, and then I'm also going to take a round file. The file that I use is for sharpening chainsaws. It's a Husqvarna file. There's some more powder. So this wasn't a grease issue, this was a rust issue. So anyway, these caliper brackets, you can't get them. All the wrecking yards are closed today. You can't buy them from the dealership. You might have to order. So he'd be dead in the water. And where he's working on this, you know, maybe that'd be a problem. Like, he's not supposed to park there long term. So anyway, here's how you get this done when you're in that kind of a situation. See, this is the boot where I was talking about, where I was grabbing, is this little high spot where the boot goes on. Just twist it up on there. Lovely. It's freaking awesome. Anyway, here was the one that we got out that was stuck. It didn't break. And then here's the other one that did get broken. Look at where that snapped. I mean, that was in there with some serious fuerza. Serious force. Anyway, I hope this is helpful to you. Let me show you the file real quick. I'm not going to edit this, so it's going to be a quick video.
Yeah, right? Like, that never happens anymore.
Okay. I apologize, I lied to you. It's not a Husqvarna file, it's a still file. But it's just a little round file, and it just enables you to get in there and clean it up a little bit. You know, that's hot. In some cases it's the grease and brake cleaner's going to do the job to clean it up. In this case it's rust and maybe a little lack of grease. So maybe clean it out with brake parts cleaner and then just go back in with this. Now the end of this file, or any other chainsaw file, sharpening file, the end of them isn't great for doing this because it's not, there's nothing to it in terms of the rough texture that we want, so we're not going to get the back end of it. So what I'll do with these is I'll just chop them off. I'll use a cut-off wheel like my Hitachi or a DeWalt or something and cut the end of that off using an abrasive disc, and then I can get all the way up in there. Check this out. Now what I've done is I took some brake cleaner with a straw and I squirt it in each of these, flush them out, and then I take some Q-tips. Got Q-tips and junk here. So I swab out all the grease. Once the grease is out, I take my file that I cut the end of it off, and I just go through and I kind of feel for any rough spots, high spots or whatever. And I'm going in and out, and I'm mentally picturing in my mind going around in a circle slowly as I'm going in and out of this thing, cleaning it up. So wipe it off, use brake parts cleaner, get the grease off your file, go through and just hit all these. That one was okay, that has grease in it, it's clean. This one is contaminated, we had to torch this. So you can kind of feel it and hear it when it gets into a spot that's an area of concern. And then you just go through and clean them out again. Now what in the world is all of this about, and what's going on? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is a caliper bracket. This is what the brake pads mount into. If you've done a brake job, you've seen this before. The brake pads go into this thing, and the caliper bolts onto it. So we got caliper pins. It's going to go in and get stuck again, huh? We'll wipe all that nasty wheel bearing grease off of this. So your caliper pins, I got to work the file on that some more. Your caliper bolts onto this, and it's on here mechanically so that it can't go anywhere. Now if you take the bolts off, it can come off this way. But these are slide pins, guide pins, caliper pins. So you got all these different names for the same thing. But what they do is your caliper only squeezes from one side. The piston engages this way. If these lock up, that inside pad's going to get worn out fast. That's what Francesco found with his girlfriend's car. So basically, what we're dealing with is this needs to be able to slide freely. You need to hold on to this and tighten the bolt on, have a caliper secured, but it needs to be able to slide. That way, as that piston engages, it makes the outside pad and the inside pad work together. So this has to move freely. So we're going from using a torch to get this thing out to being able to slide freely. So that in order to get that to happen, that's why you have to clean this out. If you can replace it, get a new caliper that comes with it, that's great. If you don't have access, if it's just not your day or it's not available for your car, that's what we use the file for. So we're going to file this up real good, and then we're going to put the boots back in that keep the grease in there so it doesn't rust up and seize again. And then with the grease and the boot and all this in there and lubricated, then this should be able to move pretty freely. That's the goal. That's what we're working toward here. And these were really neglected for a really long time, so I'm going to do a little tool making here. And by that I mean I'm going to make something that can fit inside of my drill chuck that I can work with in a quicker manner, because this is taking forever. Do I have plenty of files to still be able to do my chainsaw? You bet I do. I got files to spare, so we'll set those aside and work on those later. In the meantime, I'm going to take my drill chuck and just tighten that in there. And we're going to go back over here, so I don't want to burr on the end of my file. Files are hard material, and we don't want to be messing up the inside of this thing, so I didn't get that in my chuck perfectly either. Maybe I'll try that again. Alright, awesome. So happy right now. I don't have to sit here and do this manually. We take the drill, work it in a circle. You know, tools save you time and money. They make you money with less time, so do it to it. Use them. So we've been working with that a little bit. Oh my goodness, look at that. That's what we're talking about right there. That's what we need. Do the same thing on this one. I don't want to be here all day, and this probably gets a better job. More like a line hone and, you know, less like a spot file. We don't want to wear a bunch of ditches. We want it nice and round. And there's better ways to do this. This is not the only way to do this. This is what I'm doing today to get the job done. So we're going to need to do that some more on this one. I always think it's funny the two words more and on used together. More on this one. Ah, you moron! What do you think? Are we done? I should be spraying this, but I don't want to go back and forth and have all that dead spot on the video. I gotta clean this up a little bit more too. Maybe there's some gum on that I'm not seeing. If you have good clean metal, then this is the way to do this. If there's other debris and you're taking off metal that doesn't need to be taken off, can you see the problem there? That can cause your caliper to have some play. You don't want to do any more than what's absolutely necessary. I'm going to spray this with a brake cleaner again. I think there's some tubers in here. It's what it feels like to me. So I'm going to trust my feel. I'm going to go for it. Do you play any musical instruments? I do. So musical. And by instruments, I mean this caliper bracket. So fill her up, let it soak, grab a couple of Q-tips, because why not? That's what they're for. That cotton seems to grab the grease really well. It's like brushing your teeth for your car. I don't know why it's so musical. It's just something about... You know, think of every flute and tuba and everything else that you've ever had access to as a kid and played with. Something about tubes and echoing and things echoing in a circle. So many things in the universe are circular. Deep Thoughts by Brian's Mobile One. So anyway, that's a whole lot cleaner. Now that is no longer in there, it's here. So we'll wipe that into our rag. I need two rags. Dude, I'll tell you what, life through a viewfinder is a myopic view. You only see just a little bit. You know, it's like holding that up to your eye and seeing the world through that. And I just dumped the other side that was also full of brake cleaner onto the floor. Interesting thing. Alright, so we've done that. We haven't filed any more. Let's see how we're doing. It's still a little catchy, but it's able to move in and out now without having to have vice grips to pull it out. So that was a good move, but we do still need to take off some more rusted metal. This is going to be such a quick, easy video. No editing required. Yeah, I think I'm up to about 4 or 5 clips now. Alright, so we've got our pin to where it's moving in and out freely. I'm going to flush it one more time to get any metallic dust. Metallic dust, you know, remember when we were doing the torch? And the torch was causing certain portions of this thing to glow? You know, just any little area with increased amount of surface area. Well, the dust is the same way, and burning and rust are the same thing. One's fast, one's slow. When something rusts, it actually gives off heat. It's actually oxidizing, burning. Oxidation is burning. Did I say that right? I don't know. Anyway, if there's powder dust in there from filing, that's going to oxidize or rust easier than if it's just a surface like this. So that's why we want to flush that out. Long story to a simple little problem, simple little issue. So you want to use the right kind of grease. You want to use something, you know, like the little packets that they come with, and put it all over the pin and put your boots on. Get your boots on, Ted. Never know when something's going to be flaming on the porch and you got to put it out with your boots. So anyway, that's how that goes. Long story short, we're done. Thanks for watching my video. I hope this video is helpful to you. This could be really frustrating if you didn't know to use a little heat. You can use oxyacetylene. That's expensive. It goes fast. Sometimes it's a good idea to try a little propane first. You can get this at Lowe's. Home Depot. I keep referring to Lowe's because they're close. I have to drive so far to go to Home Depot, but I like Home Depot way better, just for the record. Better customer service, better selection, better quality, better prices. I mean, what's not to love about Home Depot, right? So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Click subscribe, like. Thanks for watching my videos, you guys. I really appreciate it. If you guys have anything helpful that you want to add to this process, put it in the comments below. If you have any questions, create a little community in the comments. That way people can get their answers, better ideas. I'm going to just say something right now. Thank you to everybody who has called me on my crap. I don't want to create a bunch of critics and like have it be a real hassle when I go through the comments that people are like, you should dot your I's and cross your T's. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, but if you got a better way, by all means, and you know, you can do it in a helpful, suggestive way. You know, there's constructive criticism, and then just out and out being a critic. You know, if you have some constructive criticism, by all means, that is always welcome. And I gotta thank you guys, because I've learned so much doing this. You know, as I've made these videos, a lot of them are off the cuff. You know, they're, you know, just impromptu. It's not the easiest way to film like that. I make mistakes, you know, but in my making mistakes or whatever, people have called me on that and said, hey, you know, buddy, you know, pull you aside here. I got a little constructive criticism for you, you know, like there's a good way to do this. And seriously, I've learned a ton. I mean, this has been a college course in fine automotive skill. You know, some of these skills I develop, some of the skills other people develop, and you know, long story short, we're all learning and growing, and we're all getting better together. So thank you for that. Cheers.